A letter from a husband who finally understands. Author, Jamie Dornan. Dear Amelia, I'm not sure I'll send this letter. Maybe you'll never read it. Maybe I just need to write it down, to clear the noise in my head. But if you're reading this, it means I've found the courage to face myself, and you. I just finished watching your interview. The room was silent. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen, and I couldn't stop the tears from falling. You spoke of silence, strength, and forgiveness. You spoke of me, not with anger, but with aching kindness. I thought you were silent because you were tired. But no. You were silent because you loved. I didn't understand you, for a long time. I remember the first years after I finished 50 Shades of Grey. The world turned upside down. Your name was everywhere. Posters, headlines, endless interviews. Everyone wanted to know about Jamie Dornan and Dakota Johnson. I was overwhelmed by the applause, the lights, and the illusion that I controlled it all. But I forgot that behind every question about Dakota, there was a woman trying to smile quietly, me. I never stopped you from working. I never blamed you for the bold scenes. But you endured the gazes of millions of people, people who thought they had the right to enter our private world. And I let them. I let them call you the forgotten wife. I let them associate you with an image I didn't even recognize anymore. You lived in silence, I lived in noise. There were nights when you came home late, I was still awake, not talking, not asking. You just gave me a glass of water, smiled and asked a simple question. Are you okay? I don't know where you got that calmness. When I was falling apart, you were the one who held this house together. I understand now, strength is not shouting to be heard, but being silent and still standing. You did that every day while I let the world speak for me. The words that kept me up at night. When you said in an interview, if you love someone famous, learn to love them in your own way. I had to turn off the video because my heart was pounding. I never thought about that. I was so used to being famous, I forgot that it wasn't just my burden, it was yours too. I remember the times the press caught you turning away when reporters asked about Dakota. They called you cold, but they didn't know that it was the only way you could protect yourself. Please, don't mention her to Amelia again. I said that in a press conference. It seemed like a small thing, but it was all I could do to protect you from those careless words. That day, I heard your voice in my head. I don't want to hear her name anymore, Jamie. I've had enough. And I understood, sometimes love isn't about holding hands on the red carpet, but learning to say enough to the world. That night, when I got home, you just smiled and said, thank you. Just 2 words, but to me, they weighed more than any award I'd ever received. I let fame overwhelm my heart. There were times when I felt lost. I was so caught up in interviews, roles, trips. I talked about love, about art, about characters, that I forgot the real woman waiting for me at home. I remember when you wrote the song The Silence Between Us. I listened to it over and over again, but I didn't ask who you wrote it for. Now I understand. You wrote it for us, for the spaces between us, for the things that cannot be said. If the world is going to talk, let them talk. We'll talk in silence, you and me. I listened, and I cried. Because in that silence, I heard myself, foolish, arrogant, and scared. You taught me that love doesn't need to be proven. I used to think I had to show my love with flashy gestures. Buying flowers, posting pictures, saying sweet words to the press. But you never needed that. You just needed me to stop pretending that everything was okay. One evening, when everything seemed to be falling apart, you said, I don't know how to prove it to you anymore. You just looked at me and said, stop proving it, just be here. From then on, I started staying. Not just physically, but mentally. I learned to turn off my phone at dinner. I learned to listen to my daughter's story at school. I learned to be quiet when you played the piano. Your forgiveness makes me feel small. You once said, "Forgive not because you forget, but because I believe you can become better." That sentence changed me. I didn't deserve forgiveness, but you still gave it to me, not with words, but with your eyes, with meals, with holding my hand when I was exhausted. I realized, true love is not loud, it doesn't need to be said. It lies in the way we choose to stay, even when there are 1,000 reasons to leave. I see myself in my daughter's eyes. One afternoon, when I took my daughter to school, the teacher said, "My daughter is very confident. She said her father is brave because he always protects her mother." I stood there, speechless. I wondered, can I really protect her? Probably not, but I am learning, and I want my children to grow up knowing that men are strong not because they're tough, but because they apologize. Fame is an illusion, and you are real. Hollywood gave me everything: glamour, money, respect. But Hollywood also took away the most precious thing: peace. If I could go back, I would choose fewer movies, less noise, just to have a few more normal mornings with you and the kids. The world doesn't need another Christian Grey, he wrote in his diary. But I need Amelia Warner to remind me of who I really am. When I heard you say, I'd still choose him. When you said at the end of the interview, if I could go back, I'd still choose Jamie. I burst into tears, not out of happiness, but out of shame. Because after everything I did to you, you still chose me. And he promised himself, from now on, he would live a life worthy of that choice. I want you to know this. You're not just Jamie Dornan's wife. You're the only one who reminds me of myself when everything around me is just a role. You're the place I come home to, the reason I learned to say no to Hollywood, to say yes to peace. I know I am not perfect. I know there are nights when you cry because you are tired. But I also know that if there's one thing I did right in life, it was loving you. Things I never said. I remember our wedding day. When everyone was laughing, I just looked at you, in that simple white dress. You weren't a star, you weren't a character. You were Amelia, the one who made me believe in true love. I wish I knew then that love doesn't have to be hidden from the world. It just has to live in the hearts of two people. I'm sorry I let fame come between us. I'm sorry I made you learn to suffer when I should have protected you. And thank you, for not leaving when I wasn't the best man for you. A promise. I can't erase the past. But I can live the rest of my life so you never have to hear those hurtful words again. No more, Dakota and Jamie, headlines. No more, is Amelia jealous? Just, Jamie and Amelia, still together, quietly, beautifully. The peaceful life we always dreamed of. I pictured the years ahead. We'd grow old on the Irish coast. You'd still play the guitar, I'd still write. The kids would grow up, carrying your smile with them. No more Hollywood, just the sound of waves, laughter, and peaceful afternoons. If love had a sound, he wrote, it would be your laugh, soft, sincere, and enough to let me know I was home. The end. I don't know if you'll ever read this letter. It'll probably stay in a drawer forever. But I want you to know this. I heard you, not through words, but through silence. I understood, and I'll never let you teach me that lesson again. I love you. Not because you forgive me, but because you make me want to be someone worth forgiving. With all I have. Jamie. Silent Salvation. A year later, at a small ceremony in Dublin, Jamie and Amelia appeared together. No flashbulbs, no questions about Dakota. Just the two of them holding hands, smiling peacefully. A young reporter asked, Jamie, do you have anything to say about love? he replied, looking at Amelia. Love is not about not making mistakes. It's about learning from those mistakes together.